Hello all and welcome to Hangar 412, the show that gives you the rundown on the lore and technology behind some of our favorite vehicles in fiction. And in this episode, we'll explore the lore behind the little plucky plane with the fighting spirit. The General Resource XFA-36 Game. The XFA-36 is one of the most highly advanced fighters of the 21st century. Produced in 2040 and developed off the airframe of a 1/4 scale unmanned research aircraft called just simply the X-36 that was first flown in 1997. The game is allegedly so advanced that General Resource markets the XFA as, in quotes, superior to any Newcom craft. This just goes to show how ahead of its time the original X-36 was. General Resource's full production variant of the X-36, which is the star of this video, the XFA-36 Game, was so advanced in fact that it said if the pilot could just simply think it, the plane could likely do it. Which is great, because that's basically how the Connection for Flight Interface System, or CFFIN system, works, since you control the plane with your thoughts. The XFA-36 would, however, only see sporadic deployment by any faction actually operating the craft, and there was only one recorded mass deployment of the craft during the attack on the sinking city of Megafloat. This is presumably due to how high-tech and new the craft was. I mean, anyone that's familiar with modern technology, so any millennial or zoomer or whatever, can tell you that as technology gets more established, it becomes cheaper. Think of TVs. The TV that I'm recording the script off of right now, that I'm reading off of, and doing all my animation off of, this TV would have cost me, upwards of $1,000, if not more, back when I was a kid. I mean, if you had a flat screen TV when I was a kid, you were the kingpin, man. You had the neighborhood. But now you can pick them up for a couple $100 at Best Buy, or like $50 at an estate sale or something. It's not like they're a big deal anymore. So that's just my theory as to why the XFA was so expensive to operate, or why you didn't see it very often, was simply just because it was new. That's just my theory. The XFA-36 Game also features a neat feature, I guess, where the wingtips fold up to a vertical position at low speeds and when the air brakes are activated to help with stabilization. Sort of like a reverse XB-70 Valkyrie, as the XB-70's wingtips would fold down at high speeds to keep the aircraft stable. So totally the reverse. So I'm not quite sure how that actually works. If there's any aerospace engineers in the audience, love to hear from you. But basically that's how it works. Just think the exact polar opposite of the XB-70. XB-70's wingtips fold down as it's going faster. The XFA-36, the wingtips fold up as it's going slower. I don't quite understand the engineering there, but like I said, maybe someone can write in the comments and fill in the gaps. The aircraft also sports a 3-paddle 3D thrust vectoring system only seen on a handful of aircraft, such as the X-31 Vector, the F-18 Harv, or HARV, the XFA-24A Apollos. I don't know. I've never heard the word out loud. So there. That's also why I got the Delphinus wrong in that previous video. Anyway, it's also seen on the CFA-44 Nosferatu and the unmanned variant, the QFA-44 Carmilla or Camilla, depending on which mistranslation you use. Along with the ADT-X, the ADT-0, and X2 Shinshin, which are all part of the same family. The XFA-36 also sports the Connection for Flight Interface System, or CFFIN system. Shocker, I know, because I mentioned that earlier, and every aircraft from Ace Combat 3, and most of them from Ace Combat X and her sequel spin-off thing, tend to feature this system. I don't know why it is such a big through line in the franchise, but I do find it kind of neat. Alright, so here's a part of the video where I give you all the statistics and measurements and stuff. So get ready for long strings of numbers. The aircraft measures in with a length of 19.51 meters, that's about 64 feet, a wingspan of 13.2 meters or 43.3 feet, a height of 2.8 meters or 9.18 feet. Its weight comes in, and I believe this is an empty weight, comes in at 32,116 kilograms or roughly 14.56 metric tons, which can be translated to 70,803 pounds or roughly 16 US tons. The game was also capable of a top speed of 3,304 kilometers an hour or 2,053 miles an hour, or Mach 2.67, according to Japanese records, but surprise, surprise, everyone else in the world disagrees. So all their records state that the aircraft has a top speed of 3,802 kilometers an hour, or 2,362 miles per hour, or Mach 3.07, roughly. The game can also carry quite the variety of weapon systems, such as an SUU-23A containing a pod for a 20mm 6-barreled M61 Vulcan autocannon, or a 25mm 5-barreled GAU-12 Equalizer autocannon, which should sound familiar to those who watch the channel, or a 37mm N37 machine gun for standard armaments. And as for secondary and more heavy weaponry, the XFA-36A can also be equipped with your standard AIM-9M Sidewinder missiles or a slightly modified version capable of firing in rapid succession at the cost of range. More like a guided missile pod. Or, for even bigger prey, the game can also be loaded out with multiple independently targetable multi-purpose missiles. Very similar, in fact, to the CFA and QFA-44's all-direction multi-purpose missiles, otherwise known as ADMMS. However, it seems in the case of General Resource, they decided to give the weapon system the misleading name of MIRV, or MIRV missile, which stands for Multiple Independently Targetable Reentry Vehicle, implying that this missile was like an ICBM, instead of something more similar to, like, a fancy AIM-9. Like, this is meant for short-range air-to-air combat, not wiping entire civilizations off the face of the earth. So, I don't know why they decided to give it that name other than the fact that it might have just been good for marketing, but the XFA-36's MIRV missile is anything but a MIRV missile. Well, that's all the lore we got on this elegant denizen of the sky. Personally, I've always been a big fan of the simplistic design of this aircraft, so the XFA-36 and her real-world inspiration, just the X-36, have been a couple of my favorite designs simply from a visual standpoint. Of course, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you would know that the Fragata will probably always be at the top of my list. And it was kind of fun to see what was viewed as the future of aviation when I was a kid and how different and optimistic that vision of the future in general was, not just in aviation, but in all aspects, in comparison to the future I find myself living in now as an adult. Anyway, back on track. If you had as much fun watching or listening to this video as I did making and researching it, don't forget to fire an all-direction multi-purpose missile at the subscribe button, bell icon, and like button. And be sure to drop a comment down below or a suggestion for more lore on the lesser talked about vehicles in fiction. And until next time, guys, peace.